needs. Visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. We're opening up those phone lines to all of you who need to air some grievances. It's like Festivus, the airing of grievances. We got a couple callers calling in right now, 615-737-1045. You want to get in. Oh, boy, Blaine. That's not a way to start the holidays. I mean, if you're a state of Tennessee football fan, you could not have written a worse weekend for your respective teams to go out up north and get thoroughly embarrassed, both in Indianapolis and against Ohio State and Columbus.
They know how to play football up there.
They do. Maybe we underestimated a little the people up north, the men up north. But, I mean, where do you want to start? Because I kind of want to start with Tennessee Volunteers. But, obviously Tennessee Titans maybe is, a whole show in and of itself. But, man, I was not expecting the Tennessee Volunteers to go up there and just be not competitive.
Yeah, I said that they had, I think, the number one roster in college football. But boy, did they show that! That was a surprise for me. I knew they had some mismatches at the tackle position, but what was really shocking about everything about the Tennessee game was the defensive line and how they couldn't control the line of scrimmage. And they ran the football. Not only that, they also passed. Naturally, they have 3 NFL wide receivers. So you knew at some point, the corners were going to break down. They can't just shut them down. That wasn't going to happen, obviously. And so I think I was more disappointed with that than anything. And then offense couldn't really do pretty much anything. Nico, I felt like, played his best. He was scrambling around, trying to make something happen. Receivers couldn't get open. They have 2 corners that's going to be NFL as well at Ohio State. So their matchup, the whole ball of wax was not very good. They couldn't run the football. Samson then, strained his hamstring and was trying to play through it. But once you strain a hamstring in the cold weather, that's almost impossible. And then they had the receivers all go down. I mean, Thornton to Squirrel. It was just, it was really sickening. All I wanted to see after halftime was to see if they were going to muster any movement of the ball on offense and maybe get a stop on defense. After that, I checked out. Neither one of them happened, and I said,
you could say that about both Tennessee games.
Game is over. Yeah, no doubt. It was a miserable weekend. Both teams, Titans and Vols, were dismantled. Period.
Yeah. Listen, Nico put together I think he was the team, it felt like. If Nico wasn't playing this game, this would have been a lot worse for this team. It would have been even more embarrassing.
Oof.
I mean, he played his freaking guts out. Anything
enough to get his helmet cracked.
Yeah, get his helmet cracked.
Oof.
He still, that was very early in the game, and he continues to play the game. He continues, they're calling quarterback runs a whole lot. They were trying everything and anything to get something going on that offense, and they just couldn't. And I know that a lot of fans, and I think Lucas tweeted out bananas before the show. He also talked about it's just a difference of the haves and the have-nots, and Ohio State's talent level is far superior to the University of Tennessee right now. Wow. And I didn't think I knew it.
I didn't think it was that big of a gap.
I didn't think it was that big of a gap. You are totally right.
That's the part that stunned me. I thought with scheme and system, they were just a notch above that you could compete with them, and then a play here or there, you'll be right in the game. They look like, I think they caught them at a bad moment coming off of Michigan. All the stuff that was talked, they had edge. They had edge in warm-ups. Did you see them?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my, they look like they're fired up. They're going to run out of gas. I'm here at Ohio State. I thought they're a little too jacked up. And, I thought, the calm before the storm with Tennessee, they was real calm. And, oh, by the way, tip the cap to the Vols fans for showing up. It was probably 30, 40,000. I mean, they were scattered throughout the whole entire stadium with the orange on. So, unfortunately, they got whipped, and here the ride home was very long, 8.5 hours. So, but they showed out, man. Unfortunately, the team did not.
Nico was 14 of 31 for 104 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and then he almost threw an interception in that game.
Yeah.
And then they had him carry the ball 20 times in that game.
Well, someone was scrambling, right?
Right. Yeah. But I mean, like, that's
but you
still,
hear the stats, though.
Yeah.
Not
doesn't
watching
really
the game.
tell you the story.
Right, exactly.
Because he does have 2 rushing touches, but it doesn't really tell you the story, and that kind of goes into Mason Rudolph and all that kind of stuff as well. These stats don't really tell you, as far as football players go, dude's a football player.
Yeah,
You're right.
No
I mean, like, it may not have been the prettiest game or the cleanest game from a passing standpoint. And listen, a couple wide receivers went down. These wide receivers were clearly outclassed against the Ohio State cornerbacks. But like I said, Nico played his freaking guts out. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough of a team effort for the University of Tennessee to make this even competitive. 42-17 final score. They
still were slow, and then when the line weren't protecting, the guys were open, then Nico couldn't get him the ball. I mean, man, it was kind of pretty much everything that happened in the regular season versus the elite opponents.
Yeah.
It came back to Rooster's head.
Let's go to your phones real quick. Ken in Goodlettsville wants to talk some Tennessee sports. Ken, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, you were asking why they play so hard at Ohio State. You know, all we've heard was they're going to get their coach fired. They're going to get their coach fired.
Yep.
And they're going to take what's his name, who used to be here at the Titans. That's who they want. They didn't like Vrabel. They didn't like this guy. And I don't understand why, but they were playing for him. But another thing that I liked was they showed Kirk Herbstreit's son and flashed up Nashville, Tennessee right there, which was pretty cool. Now, what is his problem? He's got a heart problem or something?
I'm not familiar with this story, so I'm sorry, Ken. We can't help you out on that one.
Yeah, I know he has.
But he's not able to play.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. But yeah, I mean, like, I get Ohio State came out and saved their coach's job pretty much. I mean, you'd have to say.
How you doing? I'm doing good, brother.
All right, thanks,
Ken.
Good.
Good to you. Okay.
He started talking to somebody else while
Santa
he's on the
Claus at
phone.
the ball?
I don't know what just happened on
Santa
that phone
Claus
call or where that
us.
phone call was going.
He got busy. Someone wanted to get
One
on
of his
his
elves
sleigh.
talked to him.
Yeah, let's go to Coach T in Nashville, who wants to talk to the Tennessee Volunteers. Coach T, get this show back on track.
Oh, man.
Man, you know, I'm going to keep it back on track, Blaine. You know I had to call you today and wear you back out, baby. You know that.
Oh, my.
You know
What
that.
happened,
Hey,
man?
I told you them Buckeyes wasn't playing. And I want everybody to stop saying about he's trying to save Ryan Day's job. They didn't do that. These guys were already ready. Just looking at the whole season rather, the whole works, everything had to come out. They got the largest payroll athletes on the team right now. And I'm going to give you one. I won 4-0 this weekend in these games, and I'm going to give it to you. This next round of the Final Four, I got the Goldheads, Notre Dame, upsetting Georgia, sending them home. So they're going to be out of there. I've got Penn State moving on, Buckeyes moving on, Texas moving on, with Ohio State Buckeyes versus Notre Dame national championship game.
All right, I'm writing it down, Coach T.
Coach C, I want you to just call back in.
Bets.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be calling. You know, I'm gonna get in touch with you, baby. So put that down. We're gonna talk about it.
All right, that sounds good. I appreciate it. Thanks, Coach T.
Later, fellas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he went 4-0 this weekend, I wrote all those down. Might as well bet him, right? You might as well just go ride the wave of Coach T.
Yeah. Neyland North. That's what it's called. Yeah.
I mean, now we got people calling it the Southern Shoe. Down here at the, Knoxville now it's called the Southern Shoe. I've seen in the chat. So, I mean, that was bad. When I came in, to yesterday for Titans Talkback, I was looking at Jackson and Lucas and stuff, and they were very depressed.
Yeah. I called him in the pregame.
You know what I got to do? Got to kick them while they're down. And I said, man, you guys really embarrassed the SEC, didn't you?
Man.
Like, you guys couldn't even make it a game. I tried to throw another one in there. I was like, I don't know. With the way that how many times Nico ran, I think Jalen Milroe could have won this game. Just really sticking to him.
Oh, my. Oh, man. It made you think about, how much more they have to do to get to that next level of recruiting. And then the offense, it showed against the elite teams that they're just not there. The whole thing all season was about the offense, whether it was Nico, the offensive line, the receivers. It just manifested all in this game. You saw it. So they're going to have to do a well of a job in recruiting and TP, and that's transfer portal, which is kind of weird. They have to keep going into the portal to get their offensive line. And now pretty much Pruitt guys are all up out of there outside of the ones they brought in. So we're going to see how well he can recruit TPers to come in and be an immediate impact, let alone at wide receiver too. And they have the offense, so it's an attractive deal, and they have Nico. So, man, this is going to be real good because the expectations are going to be even more than what happened this year, which is the first round of the playoff loss.
Because you're going to have another year in Nico. You expect a jump in Nico's abilities, productions of playing the game. But I do think, because this is kind of the thought that I'm seeing when I'm watching this game, and we've kind of danced around this subject all season long when talking about this offense and the shortcomings and starting slow and the decisions of benching Sampson and doing this and that. Is like, and I asked Bananas, is Josh Heupel, is he the guy that can get you what you want?
It's a great question.
And I think it is a legitimate question. It's not saying that he's not a great coach, but we talk about great coaches all the time. You have to be able to start winning the big games. And listen, this is his first time in a real big game, and he's won some big SEC games, but he struggles on the road. And the talent just isn't there. And some of that does fall in recruiting and the system and all this kind of stuff. I do think it's a legitimate question to ask. Has he taken the program from, the Butch Jones days and the Derek Dooley days and the Jeremy Pruitt days and take it to another level? Yes. But is he the guy to take it to that next level? Or is someone else going to have to come in and take it to that next level? I think that is a legitimate question to ask.
And that's what's going to be expected going into the next season regardless. And I just don't know if he has the players and if he's really that guy to get to the elite of the elite. And that's going to be really interesting because the way this team was kind of set up, if it doesn't get to at least the second round, man, it's going to be some people really pissed off. So with success comes expectations, and now the pressure and the heat is about to pick up on hype.
Yeah, and listen, like I said, the lot of success under Josh Heupel, but sometimes you get to a point where you have to pass the baton to the next coach to really take your game to the next level. He's going to have, obviously, he's got a lot of extension. He's got an extension, all this kind of stuff. But, it's time to start building. You only have a limited window with Nico. So what's your succession plan with Nico? And is that quarterback and Nico going to be stepping into a better situation in 2025 and beyond? You're losing a lot of your offensive line. Well, listen, and they weren't great, and you got a really good 5-star best tackle coming in, David Sanders. But you're going to have to fill out the rest of your line. You have to find wide receivers because these Brew McCoys and these other guys, Squirrel Whites, great stories and everything, but they can't compete with the guys you're going to see in the tournament. Playoffs. And that's what we saw. We saw that when it comes time to the tournament, all the games this past weekend were the haves and the have-nots all the way through. We'll talk more about that. We'll also get to your phone call, 615-737-1045. This is Covered 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here, 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. We're going to go straight to the phones because, man, we got a lot of people that want to talk. And we're going to go straight to Lee in Mount Juliet who wants to talk about the Vols.
Hey,
Lee.
what's going on, Matt?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So listen, man. All right. This is why people don't like Vols fans. You guys had the best season you've had in probably 20 years or so since 1999. You had a coach that took you there. First time ever, 12-game playoff. Sorry, I'm not about to run from a chip doodle. But literally, dude, like y'all talk about firing Heupel, or is Heupel the right man for the fit? Like, bro, he just got you in the first playoffs ever. Appreciate that. Got a good season. Be happy about it. Move on it.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and we're not advocating or calling for him to be fired. We're just, I think there is a legitimate question. It's not just the playoffs, by the way. We have kind of danced around this subject numerous times, talking about this offense, talking about the issues, like what is Heupel doing in these situations, and how can Heupel improve? So that's just, that's all we were saying is that there's a legitimacy to questioning possibly, what does the future hold for this team under this coach?
And can he be elite? Because they had quarterback and receiver and O-line issues throughout this entire season, and they still won 10 games. So you got to give them credit for that. But now I was trying to say is that the pressure is going to heat up. Now they want to expect more. And can you provide that with the roster that they have? And how much are you going to go into the transfer portal? Your commits, mostly portal, though, to get immediate impact. And can you take this team to the next level? And can Nico then take that next step up, as you mentioned? So, really, and then, if you're not getting where you need to be and they don't make the playoffs, then some people are going to be upset.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the nature of the business.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're saying is we're saying, okay, you made it to the playoffs. Now you got to exceed or meet those expectations again the next year. I mean, this is and listen, I don't know, maybe he's referencing other shows or other callers that called in other shows. I don't know.
Yeah, say that.
But I just want to say that, he definitely should not be getting fired this year.
Nah.
But we got to understand what the new expectations are now next year. You got to make sure that your expectations shouldn't be lower than what actually resulted this year, because it should be higher and fans should be shooting for it. The question is, can he deliver? And that's the next big question for Josh Heupel, no matter where he goes, is can he deliver you a title and a championship? And he's going to have to start hitting that recruiting trail, the transfer portal, getting in elite athletes, because we saw night and day difference between Tennessee and Ohio State. Tristan in Brentwood wants to talk Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, I think Josh Heupel may be the right coach, but he's missing the offensive coordinator since his offensive coordinator went to a USF like 3 years ago, like Alec Gosh. And Tim Banks, I think he is not that great of a defensive coordinator. Like, why did Penn State decide to go a different direction with the defense coordinator? And I think Texas will lose to ASU. I'm not counting on that, but I'm an ASU alumni, and I think Notre Dame will beat Georgia, hopefully, and Penn State will win, and Oregon or Ohio State will win. That will be a close game. And also, the Titans need to get a new quarterback. And I'm so glad. I hope we get the first overall draft pick so we can trade down and get some more draft capital.
Yeah. Thanks, Tristan. I think Banks, for the most part, his defense all year has kind of showed up in big spots, played very well. But this,
I think
again,
wait a minute. The defense saved the season. They can say what they want to say about this last game, but they wouldn't even be in this position without that defense playing the way they played all regular season.
Yeah,
there were some games where the defense actually just won the game. I mean, it was like, man, they kept plodding away. Now, is he the best? And did he come up with some elaborate schemes against some elite teams? Maybe not, but they still were 10-2. They had enough talent. It's a gap. It's a gap between them and the elite. There is no doubt about that. So
and it's defense and offense.
They got to up the ante for the NIL money.
That's a lot to ask for, too. You would think they need to start coming up with those QR codes like Oklahoma State and all that stuff. Get creative with it because it's clear. I mean, that is a big divide. And listen, as an Alabama fan, I joked earlier about Jalen Milroe and all that stuff. I really don't believe it. They would have probably got boat race, too. But that is the clear divide between Alabama and this team as well. Like, it's clear the top of the top, the cream of the crop of every conference are going to be the ones that are in that final. And it comes down to whoever's going to have the most talent. It's not going to be really the best coach right now. Like in the NFL, it may be best coach, best quarterback. Here, it's who's got the most talent on these teams that are going, because you're going to have these matchups that are favor you in that first round. So it'll be really interesting to see how this all plays out because, again, all the games this weekend showed that clear divide in talent and skill level.
After watching this weekend, being a Bama fan, did you feel like Bama could have done just as bad or as good as some of these teams now, especially with the SMU?
SMU is the big one. And I think Indiana, too. But,
yes,
again, you got to win your games if you're Alabama. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, that's what they told you is that you have to win your games.
That's what winners say.
Yeah. Going more to your phones, Michael in Nashville wants to talk Tennessee Titans. So, Michael, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good.
Okay. As I look at the Titans, you know who I would fire? The front office. So, like for years and years, the front office has made bad choices for us drafting. I would think that we need to keep the quarterback and get a wide receiver, some linemen, edge rusher, and go from there.
Which quarterback? Are you talking Levis or Rudolph?
Yeah, I would keep both of them.
Okay.
We don't need another quarterback. We need linemen, defensive, a rusher, a wide receiver, and maybe a couple men in the backfield. Right now, like Nashville want it right here, right now. We don't want to wait on. It's going to take us maybe 2 to 3 more years to get where we need to be at. I'll listen.
I wouldn't keep any of these quarterbacks. Let me tell you something. Quarterback is everything in the NFL. You don't have a quarterback. If you don't have the guy, you don't have the guy. And right now, neither of these guys are the guys. It's just plain and simple, in my opinion. It doesn't matter what this roster is. Even at least Marcus, when John Robinson went from 2015 to 2016 and made that big transition, Marcus played lights out. Like, if they had like Zach Mettenberger or Jake Locker or Will Levis at that time, that team probably is not a 9-7 team. Marcus played lights out that year. At the end of the day, until you have a quarterback that can make the team around him better, you don't have a team that's going to win you the Super Bowl. It's got to show up in big moments now. Like, that is the key for a quarterback, is to show up in these big moments. And when everything else is falling down around them, that he can put that team on his back in certain situations. And neither of these quarterbacks can do that.
Well, that is all true. But I don't know how many quarterbacks actually that's in the National Football League right now could carry this team to being a competitive team. That's really hard. It'll be, we probably name 5 of them. Really hard. Burrow can't even carry the Bengals with that, bad defense there. So, I don't think Levis is there now. There's a possibility that he could be in a couple years. They don't have time to wait to see if he can be really, because there's a maturity level that you have to get to play in this level and understand what the weapons are around you and how to navigate through all of that. And he was just not there yet, and whether he can get there or not, I don't know. And so they're going to be on a 1 year, hey man, if we don't get it done, at least being competitive and be pushing for the playoffs next year, they're going to be in trouble. Everybody, the coaching staff, up top, upstairs, everybody. So right now they have to find at least a quarterback that can manage their offense. To your point. And I don't know if you can get any elite quarterback at this point in time based off of what's going to be available. If you go with a young quarterback, I think somebody called in talking about they want the number 1 pick. I don't think they can get as high except with 3, right? 3rd pick maybe
right now, unless someone starts winning games out of the Giants, which
so
is
then you're
not
starting
looking
from
good.
ground zero, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be a tough one when you under a 1 year deal to a certain extent with the administration as well as the coaching staff. So do you go veteran so you're immediately competitive? Then that takes you that next year out of the front of picking another quarterback. But then you're only competitive. competitive means 7 wins, 8 wins, and 9 wins,
right.
maybe.
I mean, that's your only real true option here is let's just play it out like this. Let's say it goes Jaguars beat Tennessee, so Tennessee makes it to number 3. Okay. Let's say they finish at number 3, and then you have the Giants, Patriots, Titans. Well, if you want one of those quarterbacks, you got to hope that nobody trades with the Patriots, right? And you got to hope that you love both of these quarterbacks, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and you're going to be fine if one of those drops to you at 3, right? And you got to believe in them. And that's that's really hard to say right now. Like, I personally believe Shedeur Sanders. I don't have any teeth in the game when it comes to. I'm not getting fired if Shedeur Sanders sucks. You know what I'm saying? Right. You're like, I'm not getting fired, but they would, and because to me, I think Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward is likely to be the Giants' number 1 overall pick because I think he's going to kill the interviews. Like. The way the Cam Ward's mentality, his competitor mentality, his leadership, I think is going to make people fall in love with him. Whether that's right to do or not is a totally different debate. I just think that right now that's how it's going to be. So Shedeur Sanders is possible at 3, right? I mean, there is logistically it's possible. It's possible at 4. But you are going to have to make some important decisions and moves. And you're going to have to, in the free agency, and you're going to have to hit in your draft class, and you're going to have a pretty big hit rate for it to yield competitive results right out of the gate for a rookie quarterback. And that's really hard to do. I know people point out C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels. Those are rare exceptions.
Yeah.
And really, we've seen C.J. Stroud struggle in year 2. So it's like you're catching lightning in a bottle in 1 year. It's just
and they
not
had all the
realistic
pieces around him initially, too.
Yeah.
Now, you can say that's not the case with Jaden Daniels, but they do have some really good pieces. And the offensive line has gotten itself together, and they got the right coaching staff to put the right pieces together, and it all came together, and he's playing, and he's a phenomenal talent.
I really, the best thing for this team is to find a veteran quarterback that can they know can execute the offense. It may not be a sexy name. Right. It may not be an elite person, but we have seen non-elite quarterbacks come into a system that fits them, and it works. We saw it with Ryan Tannehill. Like, you don't want to get into the money situation you got into with Ryan Tannehill, but you at least need to find a quarterback that can be something like a Ryan Tannehill while you build up the rest of the roster that had to get gutted at the beginning of this season.
Right. And you mentioned Derek Carr in the relationship. If he's available via trade or he gets released, I don't know what may happen here. Do you think that's that middle-of-the-road quarterback that you can manage for this bridge part?
I think so.
And how much do you think you can win with him?
Nobody's really paying attention to the New Orleans Saints right now because they're a team that got caught in cap hell.
Right.
Like their salary cap situation is terrible. It's been terrible.
If he's available.
And if he's and my caveat is he has to be cut. But I think that this is a place where he could come and at least make you a competitive, competent team, and he won't feel threatened by a quarterback that maybe, like if you were to, my ideal situation would be something like this. And this is very early in the process, so do not hold me to it. Would be veteran quarterback and someone like a Jackson Dart in the 5th round. You know, someone that low cost because you have multiple 5th rounders, but someone that has some good ability in college that has hit all the right notes that you want a quarterback to hit, that can come in and learn from Derek Carr, and Derek Carr also not feel threatened, and you have like a 3-year gap and you're building for the future. You get what I'm saying?
I love your idea.
I'm not saying that has to be those 2 quarterbacks, but just something like that.
Examples of where you're trying to hit. I don't know if I get a proven quarterback like a Derek Carr or whoever it may be, I don't know if I'm going to waste a pick when we're talent deficient.
Yeah.
With a 5th round, 4th round, 6th round quarterback. I do like the idea of drafting another quarterback kind of back to back. That way you're signing one and then you're bringing in one. It's kind of what the Falcons did this last year, just at a higher level, because they have so many holes. I can go sign a backup quarterback for a 1-year deal again. And then maybe I wait till that next draft, surprise people. This is how you stack and build your roster, and then take one in the first round when they say, why'd you do that? You don't need a quarterback. Oh, yeah, we're building for the future.
Yeah.
See, this is how you operate. And then this year, you draft your defensive end,
Yeah.
you get your playmaker, you get your offensive right tackle. Then that's how you start building. You can always plug in a backup quarterback.
Derek Carr saves your job.
Yep. Mhm.
Kirk Cousins saves your job. And listen, I'll go out on the limb and say I think Justin Fields saves their job next year. I really like when I've gone back and watched Justin Fields in Pittsburgh, it's a totally different situation than what he was in
He peaked
the Bears.
right there in the Bears, and they didn't have the patience.
Nope, they didn't have the patience.
And the money. They had to pay him big money.
And they didn't really have the right coach, the staff in place to begin with. But if you really go watch what Justin Fields was able to do those first few weeks, he's going to
be a free agent. So would you pay him $10 million?
I would, no doubt. There's not a hesitation in my head.
What do you think he's going to go for?
I think probably 15 mil, I bet, but 10 to 15 mil.
I think I would roll the dice. Now, are you rolling the dice as him, your guy?
Yeah. Now, I'm not. Now, listen, I'm not
that
selling.
That would make me never nervous.
I would probably do a 2-year, 30 kind of deal. And
talented.
Maybe 3, but you look at, he had one of the lowest first read throw rates, which means that he was going through his reads and his progressions in this Art Smith offense. He wasn't just locked on a guy. We're talking down there with Patrick Mahomes.
But we're talking about Arthur Smith.
Yeah, but
he knows
I mean,
how to simplify for people, man.
I think Brian Callahan can. I don't think there is a simplification process or problem with Justin Fields. I don't think it's all as mental as what everybody has made it out to be. And I think we saw that when Caleb Williams got introduced in the same system, having the same issues. And, just a defensive head coach is not the way to go. I do think Justin Fields at the price, when you factor in age, skill, fit, and price, I think Justin Fields is one of the better options for this team.
Why do you think he's the fit?
I think he's a fit because I saw him go through his progressions. I saw him make quick decisions to either throw the ball or to run it.
But did he do it at the end with the Bears?
He did some of it with the Bears, but it wasn't consistent. I think you're talking about, if you're looking for that Baker Mayfield, kind of.
Well, Baker Mayfield had a bigger to me window of consistency, and then he just kind of fell off there with different.
But I do think the Justin Fields, like obviously with Caleb Williams, you take Caleb Williams over Justin Fields. You do that all the time. I mean, but I do think that Justin Fields is one of those guys I always said was fit dependent coming out of the draft. And the places that he was likely going to go weren't going to fit him. But I just didn't think the Bears were a great fit at the end of the day. I think that he's learned a lot. And from everything you've heard about Justin Fields, the person, I really do think that Justin Fields is a fit here. I think that
I'm going to have to go watch some film on him.
You need to watch it.
I mean, really close. And what I'm not going to, here's what I don't do.
Yeah.
On 1 year, he did well. That's not who he is.
But if you look at the tail end of the Bears and you look at what I think.
I know he did good with the Steelers.
Here's
he did
what
well.
I will say this. He would have a better year than Caleb Williams would if he had stayed and they built around him like they did. And with Fields, he's cheap enough to still build around. And I think what you're seeing is the maturation of a quarterback before your eyes that came from a bad situation. And you saw it at the end of the Bears, his tenure with the Bears, that he was starting to get it.
He was.
And I think that his lowest of lows were never as bad as what we have seen here this year. And I think he gives you that extra element on this offense that no other quarterback can give you, and that's something with his legs and his quick decision.
But are you Callahan? Because you are Callahan right now. You're going to attach your wagon to Justin Fields' success.
I agree. That's a lot to ask of that. But that's my. This is
you
Zach
better be
speaking,
sure.
Not Brian Callahan speaking. If I'm Brian Callahan, I'm looking at Darnold, Kirk, and Carr. Those are the
that's
options.
That's a safer play, right?
It's a safer play.
But Fields does have mobility too with the offensive line
I just
issue.
say when people say that he does not fit this offense, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't know you did, but there are people that say that. That they're using the Fields. They're using the Fields of year 1 or 2 with the Bears and not really seeing what Fields was last year and what Fields has been doing with Pittsburgh this year. And I think that it's just something to keep in mind that Fields, I'd rather have Fields over Daniel Jones, over Will Levis, over Mason Rudolph, over Andy Dalton, Joe Flacco. There's a long list of quarterbacks. He may be the 4th best option, but that's still a better option than probably hitching your wagon to someone in the draft, especially this draft. We'll get to your phone calls. We'll get to Dennis and Columbia and Bobby and Antioch when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. You want to get on the conversation? We're going straight to your phones. We're going to go to Dennis in Columbia.
Hold up. Us standing up for washed up quarterbacks.
Yeah.
People are saying that's not on their bingo card today for me and you.
Well, I didn't know that any of these guys were technically washed. Maybe they need to go watch
They're not
more
in their
games.
prime.
Yeah, they're not in their prime, but they're not washed. Now, Aaron Rodgers, I will debate, but, I'm not. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming here. Who cares if he has a home here? He can go play a rec league for somewhere for all I care. I'm
desperate?
out. No, I'm not that desperate to bring him into my locker room. With this young group of guys they got in here, you don't want to bring in Aaron Rodgers. All right, let's go to Dennis in Columbia wants to talk Tennessee Volunteers. Dennis, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, guys. Hey, happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Well, this is what I want to say. I called in Friday, but I never could talk to you guys. But, you don't poke the bear. And what I mean by that is I kind of looked at this game like a trap game just because of the fact that Ohio State overall could have been and should have probably been a number 1 seed, and had they not lost to Michigan. And all you heard through the national media is, firing the head coach. And then from the fan base, it does two things. And with Blaine being a former player, he can attest for this. You either going to tear a team down or you just going to light a fire on them. Mm-hmm. And those players played for that coach. And it was obvious Saturday night. I mean, Tennessee was outplayed, they were outschooled, they were outcoached. And as far as people talking about Heupel, well, people don't remember Derek Dooley or Butch Jones or Lane Kiffin, the mess that was created after they decided to fire Fulmer. And the only thing that Fulmer was guilty of was winning the national championship. So with that being said, if within the next couple of years, whatever Tennessee wins if they win a national championship, but they don't, stay at that level, then everybody's going to be wanting to Heupel out too. So, but Tennessee fans, I mean, I'm 54 years old. I'll go back to Johnny Majors. Be happy with what you got because about, 10 years ago, Tennessee went a whole season and didn't even win an SEC game. And that's all I want to say. You guys have a good day.
There you go. You heard it straight from Dennis. Dennis said all you youngins need to get your heads out of your butts and just appreciate Josh Heupel for what you got because it could be a whole lot worse. Listen, I know, Alabama fan. It was really bad and dark, and then you got Nick Saban. The only difference is Nick Saban's, got you some championships fairly quickly, and that does matter. Championships do matter in college football. Let's go to Bobby in Antioch who wants to talk about Will Levis. Bobby, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hello. Hey, am I on with Zach?
Hey.
Hey, Blaine and Zach. I was just calling because I did like what you were saying about that pick. I was wondering what Blaine would do, what you would do about the third or fourth pick. I do feel like Will Levis maybe should have just played yesterday. I do think that no matter what, we've seen what was happening with Mason. We weren't really getting any progression. And as someone that's pretty young, what do I do about buying these tickets? What do I do about looking into the Titans? Blaine, I do hear you, speaking. I did like what Zach was saying about maybe Justin Fields. So I just wanted to ask both of y'all, what was y'all progression or how did y'all feel about Mason and Will? And what's the next move with the quarterback? Thank you.
So what do you think?
Well, yeah, the next move we were just talking about, I would go veteran quarterback and I'd draft the best pass rusher in the draft. I haven't looked at the draft, maybe like Zach already getting a feeler, but that's kind of where I'm going. If I want the quick turnaround and I want to be competitive immediately, I have to shore up my quarterback and then I have to increase the pressure that you got to have an elite pass rusher on your team. And if there's one in there, I'm taking them. If not, I'm taking the highest available.
It is Abdul Carter all day, every day. Guy? Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, 11. Yeah, so that's who I'm going to take because I think – you get that, I think that almost puts you in a competitive spot. There's some other pieces that need to be done, but those are two major pieces.
Yeah.
Major. On any team, if you go look at their teams, they have that solidified already.
What do you think about James Pierce's performance this past Sunday versus Ohio State?
It wasn't bad, but is not. He never really played up to the ability I thought he would be this season.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes you get into that spot where you're trying. He had a couple good games where he had, game big time plays. But other than that, yeah, there's times I thought Joseph was a better all around player. But when you're that, considered that high profile pick, sometimes you're playing hard, but you're not playing not to get hurt too. And sometimes
he hasn't declared for the draft yet, and he's a junior.
He's a top 15 pick just on his talent.
You think so?
Well, his twitchiness.
Yeah.
I think.
I just wonder if maybe he could improve that stock if he came back and maybe a little NIL money.
Oh, well, yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
But if you're going top 15, I don't know how much more. You say I want to save for NIL because I know maybe Samson.
Unless he's getting different information.
Samson thinks about that because he may not be a first rounder. I don't know.
Maybe he's getting a little bit of different information from NFL teams than what we all perceive from the outside looking in. That sometimes happens.
No, it does.
Let's go. James in Nashville wants to talk Titans and Volunteers. James, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, Zach, what do you think about Seth Henigan, man?
Did you say Seth Henigan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we've kind of talked about that. So Seth Henigan, Blaine, you were talking. Thanks for the call. Hopefully that was his call because I just hung up on him. Hopefully all he wants to do is talk Seth Henigan. So Seth Henigan is a Memphis quarterback. You were watching.
Oh, and I told you I kind of liked him.
You kind of liked him.
And
you said he got a little
poo-pooed on him.
I poo-pooed a little bit. I was like, hey, I don't know if he's got that arm talent.
I said late round pick.
Yeah, late round pick. But you kind of said, he could be a little bit Brock Purdy. And, I kind of have started my scouting process, Blaine. I started with a little Seth Henigan, do a little Memphis love since you said that. And what we saw in the West Virginia game, I kind of liked and everything. 615-737-1045 if I accidentally hung up on you and you wanted to get back in.
So now you took a deep dive into him, huh?
Took a little deep dive. He's got some good stats. I like what I see on TV. And I'm like, okay.
He started since he was a freshman.
I will say this. Bill Parcells has 7 things he always looked for in a draftable quarterback.
And he hits them all.
And he hits them all. So I just want to throw that out there. Either way, when we come back, we'll head into hour 2 of Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And we'll talk more about Tennessee Titans, and maybe I'll tell you a little bit more about what I found out about Seth Henigan.
Please do.
That will when we come back. Cover 2, Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Have had digital numbers skyrocket on our show, and we would love to endorse you as well. All you got to do is go online to 1045thezone.com/epic.
Hey, it's Lucas Panzica from 104.5 The Zone. Hear me every weekday 10 to 1 on the Buck Rising Show or on the call for Nashville Soccer Club during our radio broadcast. Look, a new year is almost upon us, and 104.5 The Zone has only ever delivered results for its advertisers. I'd love to be one to help you do that. Digital or radio, we do it all. Titans, Vols, Preds, Nashville Soccer Club. We talk about it, win or lose. People listen and they engage. So the opportunity is right there. We've got some great deals too, some great incentives going on. Be sure to visit 1045thezone.com/epic, and I'd love to help you advertise your product in 2025 on Nashville's best sports talk station.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. You want to get on the conversation? We're talking Tennessee Titans, talking Tennessee Volunteers, and Blaine. Listen, I'm not saying that Seth Henigan can be Brock Purdy, but when you look at the resume,
Memphis quarterback.
Yeah, Memphis quarterback. When you look at the resume, look at all the milestones he hit, because he's been a starter since his freshman year. When you look at all the milestones that he has hit and everything, that is a guy that you would rather have on your team than not on your team. Take a flyer on him, a 7th round, undrafted free agent. That's actually where he goes. Take a flyer on Seth Henigan, see what's there, see what he is, see what the work ethic is like, see if he can be that Brock Purdy.
I watched him a lot in that bowl game, and that's really, he opened up my eyes. I'm going to do this for every game that I watch. I'm watching quarterbacks. As the Titans, he went and just really hone in, and I really like what I saw. I saw he once stayed in high school. He's a father's son, a high school coach, and he made some all-conferences immediately. He's had success, everything he's done. Once stayed in high school, so I value that very much so. Captain, and he has just enough athleticism, great feel for the pocket. I love it. It's a natural deal to him. And he's got just enough arm strength, and he throws on time and rhythm. You can see him going through his progression reads, at least at the college level. So you think you can teach him how to do that at the pro level. So he's got some things that I really like, and they're saying he's going to be an undrafted player, at least some of the draft experts early on now. But I really believe he's a late, 5th to 7th round guy. I take it if he was there.
Because if you look at it, he's a 4-year starter. Senior quarterback. He graduated with a degree in business administration, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, same thing I did.
He started 30 games. He's won more than 23 games. He has a higher than 2-to-1 interception ratio, 130 touchdowns to, I believe, 40 interceptions, and he's got over a 60% completion percentage. So, he nails everything that Bill Parcells is looking for in a quarterback by his standards, because that also shows leadership, sustainability, and all that kind of stuff you're looking for. All of that, he hits every single one of them. And again, this does not mean that he's going to be successful. Well, it does mean you have to kind of put him on your radar, and if maybe you have a Tony Romo kind of situation or something like a Brock Purdy situation.
Maybe we want to see him at a bowl game. an all-star game, whether it's the Senior Bowl, he's whatever, to see how he stacks up against some of these other guys, even like Dart, just different players at that level who are not high picks, but are going to be drafted.
And he has out of this draft class and of quarterbacks so far that I've collected data on. He's 22. We're going to be 22 at the beginning of the season next year, so he's relatively young compared to most of these guys. He has one of the lower pressure to sack rates in the out of this class. That means that a lot of his pressures aren't turning into sacks, which is a good thing. That's shows pretty much to be sustainable. He has a modest yards per attempt, middle of the pack, 7.9 yards per attempt, which 7 is like the baseline. 5.4% big time throw rate, which is about the fourth highest in this draft class, higher than most of your top end quarterbacks. Has a very low turnover worthy play rate, 2.8%, and a 9.3 average depth of target. So it's not just all dinks and dunks. Listen, again, not saying you should be drafting Seth Henigan 3rd overall or anything.
Oh, no.
But when you're sitting there in that 6th or 7th round, Seth Henigan seems like a guy, if you don't have a quarterback situation, seems like a guy you could put on your bench and maybe develop over this year and see what you got, just like San Francisco did, just like Dallas has done.
I like it. I hope we're right.
Who would have thought that we would have had Seth Henigan conversation with 2 games left?
Yeah, I was really interested after I watched him last week, but I was like, hey, man, this guy looks all right. I don't know. It's at Memphis, but, they've had some snafus there at quarterback, so we didn't have you doing the critiquing of him with what was in between the ears there. What was that quarterback's name that went to Memphis that got drafted high?
Oh, Paxton Lynch.
Oh, man, he had a big arm too. Yeah, man. That's all he had.
Yeah, that is it. Sounds familiar. Let's talk about this Tennessee Titans game.
Yeah,
and I want to start with the defense. Because we've been talking about quarterbacks nonstop for last 17 weeks. So this defensive performance is another instance, and listen, this one is way worse than what we have seen maybe in previous stops, but something, and they kind of talked about today, the running quarterbacks or the quarterbacks that get involved in the run game. your Jaden Daniels, your Malik Willis. This seems like very indicative of this defense. For some reason, struggles with it. And he kind of talked about the one high safety being the issue and run fits being the issue of those two long runs. Because we're talking about I believe a run of 65 and a run of 70. You take those away, you're talking about you held them to 3.1 yards per carry on 26 carries. But the instance is that you got caught sleeping at the wheel. Your safety or your defensive play call got caught sleeping at the wheel, and your players just didn't execute. But what is your feeling about, as a defensive player, you're watching this game and you're like, what in the world is going on with this run defense?
Well, I know you talked about the safety, but the safety is the guy who's out in the open field, and that's the last hurdle there. So
he should never get to the safety.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt about that. That's a tough tackle, especially with the athleticism of the players that are in the league today. That's really tough. Ask for. Taylor's really fast. So I told you he looked like the old Taylor, man, when he got in open field versus the Broncos before. They ran somewhat similar, the same gap schemes that Washington ran, but it was some guys who just missed their gaps. I mean, whether it was a D lineman on the play, maybe getting a little more involved in the one-on-one matchup he was in, want to just bury somebody, or linebackers, which actually I said on the pregame show I wanted to see some, Cedric Gray. And I like what I saw. And actually, him and Williams both now out there playing with both the linebackers really going down. They missed some holes, but I like what I saw as far as their aggressiveness. And so that's what happened there. We had some linebackers miss some holes. Somewhat similar as what happened in the Washington game.
Yep.
Which, but different players this time.
Mm-hmm.
See, so it wasn't something minor. And then after that, it was some guys who missed tackles, that they should have made. Even Hooker, when the one he was in the open field, I mean, he got twisted all around. He missed 2 tackles. See, that's why, you type, what was more valuable, the interception he got in the red zone or the 2 missed tackles? Because the tackles he missed, they ran for a touchdown.
Right.
And man, so it's just like, I can't have, and then say that's a Pro Bowl player. I just can't. I can't do it. That does not happen. At least not the one where Downs called it on the sideline. That you got a man, the sideline is a man. It's a man. You should be able to make that tackle all day long. So I was a little disappointed on that, too. So, it was linebacker play. They'll never say it more so than anything else on those plays. So, you miss a gap, these guys
and
are
listen,
gone.
Kenneth Murray was out there for some of those plays, so it's not all on the rookies. Now, listen.
Right, no, it was.
I mean, obviously, some of it is going to be because you have rookies out there, and then you had Amani Hooker go out, and you had Daryl Ward. You had at one point, towards the end of the game, Worley, Mike Brown, Cedric Gray, and James Williams out there in the middle of that defense. That's tough sledding for any team to have to handle. But it just felt like, man, like, what are they? It was one of those things where you're just like, what is going on? And ultimately, they said, we tried different ways of doing, covering the RPOs. We tried man coverage, zone coverage, one high safeties, middle of the field, left to open kind of coverages. They tried it all. It's just that these players couldn't execute, or they weren't just being disciplined enough in their assignments.
Yeah, I
think that's probably where I'm at.
Yeah,
right?
I think it was more. Yeah, it was more that. And I said in the pregame show that I wanted to make. I was about to say Malik Willis. I wanted to make Anthony Richardson beat you with his brain and not his legs. He has proven enough that he is an elite level athlete.
Yeah.
And this is no guy you want to be playing with. You want to make him think and hesitate. And then that would then bring his athleticism down to everybody else.
Right.
This dude's an elite athlete. He ran for 70 yards in this game on 9 carries. He's the second leading rusher. They gave up 335. I don't know where that is in the NFL record, but boy,
it's not first. So but it's the most that the Tennessee Titans have allowed since, I guess, the Oilers' day way back in the day.
Let alone Taylor had 218.
Someone a couple of years ago, I believe it's Cincinnati, allowed 400 to Baltimore, just like last year or 2 years ago.
Man. But and he only threw the ball 11 times, and he completed 7. For 131 yards. I felt like that was a high school game, the way they played him and used him. If you didn't control him in the running game, you knew it was over. And if you go watch and look at this season in totality, before this game, The Titans, as you said, had issues with running quarterback. I said all I would have done is went and watched Malik Willis game, the Green Bay game, and see, well, we're going to put some of this in. And then they went and watched the Washington game, and then we're going to put this in for Taylor. And it eventually worked. So that was really it. The defense pretty much lost this game to me. It was more on them than anything else.
And that's tough because it seems like this team just cannot play complimentary football when they need to. And it's just wild because you weren't, after all the talk all week on the radio, national, local, TVs, articles, everything, that was not what I expected for it to happen. Now, listen, I do think they showed in spurts some really good defensive moments, and they almost came back and won that game. It's a lot closer, and I want to get your thoughts on what Jarvis Brownlee Jr. did on that 3rd and 8 when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Hey, this is Blaine Bishop. I want to know if you have heard about peptides. And peptides are shaking up the fitness world. They are naturally occurring aminos in our bodies. So as we age, they start to decline. And at some point, you may need to be supplemented. This is why our workouts can stop being productive at the gym. So maybe you feel like you've hit a wall, or perhaps you feel tired all the time. You may be struggling to stay awake in the evenings when you get home from work. So if you have the thought that this is the normal part of aging, it doesn't have to be that way. Peptides are proven to increase muscle and performance, burn fat, and help with recovery between workouts and more. And peptides can even help with motivation and mental clarity. These are all safe, naturally occurring aminos and not pharmaceuticals. A natural and holistic way to keep your body back to peak performance. Plus, Edge Peptide Therapy has the most comprehensive blood panel around. So when you go to Edge, you will know exactly what is going on inside of your body and what it needs to get back to peak performance. So feel better from the inside out. So go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can just give them a call at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Store, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation? We got Aaron Rodgers hinting about how great of a state Tennessee is on the Pat McAfee show. It is, and you know what? He also said it was. He also hinted no income tax in Tennessee, so he made sure to throw that out there, talking about Memphis barbecue and all that kind of stuff. So he kind of went the full gamut of the state. Smirking the whole time in Aaron Rodgers and how he wants to do. Okay,
but he's also said he wouldn't mind playing for the Titans.
That's true. He didn't really say that, but he's kind of hinting.
It alluded to that.
When that no state income tax, that really tells you what he's really hinting at.
And you would not entertain this at all.
Because he said, you know what? He also said that earlier in that segment, he says, "I've never been, released. I've always been, never been released. So that'd be a first. And I've never been released by a teenager. That would also be a first." Alluding to Brick Johnson, Woody Johnson's son, if he got released.
Oh, I'm glad you gave me clarity on that because I didn't know what he was talking about.
But you can't listen. From an entertainment value to give us stuff to really hate on all year long, I mean, he would give me so much ammo to hate on because he can't say anything normal. What? He's such a freaking weirdo.
Watch this. Sometimes, I'm not saying in this case, sometimes as an owner, you got to make big boy business decision. And reason why I say business, watch this. Nobody, even when they were winning, were talking about the Titans. If we had Aaron Rodgers, would they be talking about the Titans?
Yeah, because he gets paid to go on shows. But they would also be trashing Aaron Rodgers like they have been.
Right, because he'll probably be trashing the team, too, at the same time while they're going under the bus. But guess what? He's an attractive figure, so that has to be part of the conversation with that he can also tear your locker room up.
Right.
And so do you want to dinosaur with that as a head coach? And most would say, no, sayonara, and I'm out. So
let me ask you, because you've asked me, would you do it for a 1-year deal?
I'm different than most. I would want to have a sit down because I'm a people's person.
Yeah.
And so if I say, hey, man, we can't have none of that tearing the locker room. If you do that, I will cut you immediately after that single day that you do that. You need to be upfront and honest with Aaron Rodgers and put him in his place. And if he says, well, I'm not that guy, then you got your answer. Then you don't ever do that.
Yeah.
You just got to say, hey, man, we got to play better book. You got a lot riding on this season, and so do we. So you want to end like this in your career? So you got to have some nugget for him to make him say, let me think about it.
I just don't know if I can trust him. Like, even if he says yes.
I got you, because he can say yes and just say no. I mean, he can go out there and act, because his history tells you who he is, but he's in a vulnerable spot now. This time, do you want to write the legacy of Aaron Rodgers at the end, who was a loser? See,
so you think he's going to be extra motivated after this season with the Jets?
Yeah, if he plays one more season.
But I also ask the question, well, then why would he want to come here? That'd be the thing.
But because desperate times, desperate measures. Everybody else doesn't want him either.
Yeah.
So you may be getting for $30 million. So I would have definitely entertained bringing him in. I'm not going to say that I would want him on my roster, especially if my job was on the line. That's a tough one there. You better have a relationship with him, and you better know him really well. And just think, he had a relationship with some of the people there with the Jets, and we see how that all turned out.
I will say this: he has a higher big time throw. If I were making a case,
right?
If I were saying, if you hired me,
but you say no.
I'm saying no. If you hired me and said, hey, you need to make the case for Aaron Rodgers to come to Tennessee. He still has a higher big-time throw percentage than what you had with both Mason Rudolph and Will Levis, and he has a lower turnover-worthy play by a considerable margin than both those guys.
Well, I mean, he's that conversation. Aaron Rodgers at his worst, which is at his worst right now, is still better than Mason Rudolph and Will Levis.
It ain't good. He's 12 for 12. 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And I guess Garrett Wilson's starting to check out up there. Like, I'd rather make a trade for Garrett Wilson than sign Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
that is a no-brainer.
Oh, man.
That's a no-brainer.
Is this going to happen? Or is this where we're at? Is that Aaron freaking Rodgers is going to be down here to torment me?
No, that's not going to happen. But I would definitely entertain it. But I would do exactly what you said. I would trade for Garrett Wilson immediately now.
For
and
sure.
give him a new contract. He's going like, who's throwing me the ball?
Yeah.
We don't know that yet, but don't worry about it. Your check's still going to be the same. Your check is never going to change.
Oof. I don't know. I just don't know if I could do it. I don't know if my job was on the line, if I could hitch my wagon to Aaron Rodgers.
That is a tough call, man.
That's tough.
Ooh, you just asking to get fired.
You are. Okay.
Got to take some risk in life sometimes there, Zach.
You got to. Okay. So 3rd and 8.
Oh, my.
Tennessee Titans have pulled within 8 points of the Indianapolis Colts. They've started off on that play with a 1st and 10 for 2 yards to Jonathan Taylor. 2nd and 8, Jonathan Taylor, right tackle for no gain. So 2-minute warning happens, and it's 3rd and 8 on the Indianapolis 34. You have a chance to get a stop, and they run a bunch formation over to the left on the left side of the field.
Yeah.
Then Michael Pittman leaves the bunch formation. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. kind of shadows him, but he's about 10 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards off of him. And you saw the play. What did you see on that play? And should Jarvis Brownlee Jr. have moved up closer to Michael Pittman in a situation like that?
Well, it was tough. They did. I think the Titans were expecting some form of an inside route. They played robber, which is one rover with one of the safeties coming down, robbing in the middle of the field. So they probably showed some things through, studying them on that down, and they didn't. They had the bunch. So initially, and then he, Pittman kind of motioned out a little bit. So he got like 4 yards or so or 5 yards so from the bunch. So it's now 2 guys and then Pittman on his own. So it was really hard for him to be up on him. And they were playing zone, some form of a flat curl by McQuarrie. And then, Brownlee's supposed to be deep third. So to be honest, it's supposed to be the throw over McQuarrie's head, and then Brownlee's supposed to be over the top of that. So unfairly or justified, I don't think he could have gotten up there. The other side was playing man free, so they were impressed. They were impressed. I think just because of the formation and bunch, then it was going to be hard to be in between. You always tell your cornerbacks never be in between. In between means don't be running up when they're about to snap, and don't be at 4 or 5. And when you have deep third, you either play back or you up. One of the two, and you can bail or whatever, play press man or press zone. So, that was a tough one there. I think they really outcoached us more so than anything else, even though that's how it looks there. I think he was more going his hands up because guess what? I've been that flat curl person, not the actual corner person. And they were like, dang, man, I remember Samari Rowe used to be like, dang, man, you going to get that out? Because it looks like I'm getting toasted because people going to assume that's my guy.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get out there in time. And they could throw it right on the sideline, and I'm almost there. It's going right past my fingertips. And I could have just ran out there immediately. You can't miss a timing route. So they had a great play call.
Gotcha.
I can't blame you.
Gotcha. So looking at this game, I mean, Brian Callahan today said at his press conference, if you were looking at the stats don't tell the whole story. And he also said that about Will Levis as well in certain situations. Stats don't tell the whole story. The offense did move up and down. The offense did score some points, but got it up to 30. This is their 5th best total offensive outing of the season. They pulled it within 8. But I don't really want to, pick apart that part of the game yet, the quarterback. I do want to talk about, because all week we spent the week talking about being soft. We talked about, mentality, weak-mindedness, all this kind of stuff that came up this week about this team. Do you call this a fake comeback? Is that how you view this? Is this comeback to be within 8 points, to have a moment like this with Jarvis Brownlee Jr. with 2 minutes left in the game, coming out of the 2-minute warning to force a 4th and 8? And really, you have a chance to get the ball back. Realistically, do you view this as a fake comeback, that the players did actually quit and this doesn't change your mind? Because I don't think the players quit. I don't think that they were. I think they got outmatched in the run game. But at the end of the day, I think there is value in this comeback, regardless of the box score scouting or the idea that this is all done in garbage time. I look at it as, hey, this team showed fight and kept on fighting no matter what.
Yeah, I definitely view it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way around it for you to any form of quitting at any point in time just because you got bludgeoned and beat on their own accord early on. They never gave up. So they kept fighting and clawing. So that's also a reflection of not only themselves, but also the head coach.
Yeah.
So, they fought all the way to the end. Now, they were playing a little softer on defense, but they were playing against the clock. But they still went in and executed. And really, almost one play away defensively, one stop, might have had a shot.
Yeah.
I don't look at it. And then people who are trying to say, well, they shown they were soft based off of that question was asked earlier in the week, and then they come out and get beat in the run game with 2 long runs is not correlated. The guys are still running hard and playing hard. It's just that, sometimes they out-execute you, and, you lose and win some. So I don't think it's any correlation to that, and I don't think this team has quit at all. I don't think it's in their DNA to quit because I just don't think they're good enough. If they quit, I can't imagine what a game would look like if they actually would just
because there's still something to scoring 30 points, regardless of if you don't just score, I guess, what was it, like 22 points in the fourth quarter or something by accident.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter if the team's in the opposing defense is in what you perceive as prevent or whatever.
Yeah.
They're still an NFL team that can get stops. It's not like they're wanting you to score, right? This idea that, 22 points or however many it was doesn't matter. It seems a little weird to me. Like, that matters to what the deeper issues or the deeper things about this Tennessee that we kind of talk about is pride, passion, culture that you're trying to establish, and all this stuff. This Tennessee team was still trying to fight and win it, and they had a chance to win it up until really that Jarvis Brownlee Jr. play, because that changed the whole thing.
Yeah. But the issue, though, I do have is, why did it take that to get you to have that sense of urgency that has to start at the beginning of the game? And see, that is where I would probably have more so the issue. And not to say they weren't playing hard, but they have to play with this form. The NFL, this form of an edge to you where, you're playing nasty. There's playing and then there's playing with this edge. And they started playing with an edge because I think they felt like they got embarrassed. So they were getting embarrassed. So then they start saying, okay, well, we're going to show you this. We're going to claw back all the way back, and we're going to keep fighting all the way to the end. So you got to give them that. But, man, I just don't understand this. I've never seen a team go up and down. Even when I was on a 2-14 team, my second year in the league, we barely lost a lot of games. So this team to have these ebbs and flows, and it feels like it's just concentration or lapse of concentration and performance, like individual players taking their turn on both sides of the ball. Even Pollard with the drop that then turned into an interception.
Right.
Or Mason Rudolph throwing an interception right before half. That changed the momentum of that what was really going on. They could have. It's just certain little things you just can't have happen throughout a game that can really change the game. It's usually always 4 or 5 plays. So when naturally those 2 explosive plays by the running back, oh my gosh! But I mean, man, I felt like I was watching, 1990s football in the NFL from college. Anthony Richardson, 7 for 11, and then he had 70 yards.
And they adjusted. I mean, because really, when you go back and think about it, they were putting the ball early in Anthony Richardson's hands. They weren't doing much with it, and then they realized, well, this defense, they can't stop whatever we're doing on the ground, so we're just going to keep on doing it.
And I mean, they
dared them.
They were running quarterback sweeps.
Yeah.
It was like, what? They just hyped up to him. He just run around here. I'm like, oh, my gosh. And then get a touchdown. It's like, oh, man.
And this defense, Denard Wilson's defense, they could not find the answer. They tried. They tried multiple things, according to what the head coach said, but they could not figure out the recipe to get consistent success. And really, it is, 14 points, 135 yards on 2 plays. And that's kind of been the story of this team. You remember the big long run in the Detroit game. There's big long runs that have been given up, sporadically throughout the year in the Washington game. Like, it's just, for whatever reason, this team has trouble on some of these big plays on their run fits. And maybe this is the sign of a system that maybe not a lot of people are used to employing or enacting, but we're talking about we're in week 16. You should be fitting those those angles and all that kind of stuff a lot better than what you are.
I'm going to say this.
Okay.
You go back and watch the film.
Yeah.
And you'll see Murray and Reese were both still playing injured.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't do what they normally do. You could see it. And there's a part of me says, then this is why some players don't play hurt, because now that's on tape. I mean,
right.
So people's like, hey, man, when it's a wheel, I ain't talking about an arm or shoulder or finger or something, this is preventing me from running, whether it was hamstring, ankle for Reese, I think. They were just a beat late on certain things, and it was more because they couldn't do it. They just really couldn't do it. And sometimes you think you can, but you can't. So you got to put it on the player too.
Being tough hurt the team.
You're right. Yeah, I've been there, done that. Yeah. And that's what it looked like to me, at least on one of the runs. And then after that, they both, those guys weren't even out there. The injuries kept, got worse. And then I think Reese was even on the ground a couple times, and eventually he didn't come back out there. So they were trying to play and trying to be soldiers, and I get it. But, they were beat behind, and all you need is a little beat, and they can get the right angle, and boom, there it is.
Especially with a guy like Taylor, too.
Oh, man. I told you, he's got that. He is back to being that another gear guy. That first year he was in the league, he lost some weight, and then he got to, this guy's going to be special. And then, woof, and there he's back. And he usually missed the Titans game. Wish he would have missed this one.
Yeah, so we agree, no quit to this team.
Oh, no.
The fight's still there. Yeah. They're just not good enough. And some of that's because of injuries and some
I thought it was a critical play also.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Simmons on a penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Guess what? This is the NFL. He may be, let's say, he's a top 5 D tackle in the league. Let's just give him that.
Yeah.
Well, he got his butt handed to him on that play. And he got mad, and he pushed Nelson after the play. Well, don't get mad. You should have looked at him and said, that ain't going to happen again.
You should have flopped. He needs to learn to flop.
I know.
That's what Big Jeff needs to do. He needs to learn to flop. He ain't going to do it, but he needs to learn to flop.
Some people are not good actors.
Yeah.
He's not that guy.
Could you flop if it needed?
Nah, I was probably not a good actor either.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this. We both agree there was no quit on this team. No fight. The fight was there. They just weren't good enough.
They couldn't come back. Yeah.
They almost came back to win this game, which maybe tells you a little bit more about Indianapolis Colts than it does the Tennessee Titans and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I think it does tell you that this team wants to win games.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing all that, while the product on the field and its results-oriented business, you still feeling good about bringing Brian Callahan and Ren Carthon back for another year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've never, ever wavered on that. I'm still interested to see. I mean, I thought Mason Rudolph was okay, but he gave me the run splash, gave me the Ridley. There was another one that got called back.
Yeah.
I think Brunskill.
He went deep a few times. Yeah. A lot more than you kind of expected from previous years or previous games.
Games this year.
Yeah.
And so I told you, if he gave you 2 or 3 wows, I thought this could be a game. Yeah. And he got close to that, except he didn't.
The defense, though, really did. I mean,
they let him down.
The defense did what the offense has done for the majority of the year and put the offense in bad situations. So we can say the Green Bay,
the Commanders game, and then this game.
Yeah.
Because the Colts are a middling the road team.
Yeah.
There's no way they were supposed to get that huge lead like
There's
that.
no way you only walk away from a game with Anthony Richardson throwing 11 times like that. That means your defense did not step up. I mean, it really does. And that's not to say that, obviously, Denard Wilson needs to get fired or anything like that, but it just tells you the state of the game that yesterday Mason Rudolph likely would have won you that game in a different situation if the defense maybe had stepped up. And I at the end of the day, I do think that what Mason Rudolph provided you was bland, but it did what he got the ball out quick. He was efficient. He tried to move the ball up and down the field. He went some deep shots. Again, I'm not here to say that Mason Rudolph is anything exciting, and I'm not here for bridge quarterback Mason Rudolph or anything like that. But if you're talking about best chance to win the game, I still believe that Mason Rudolph is that guy. That now, whether you want the Titans to win a game is a totally different conversation.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, I only one play. I think the one or more really baited them. They were playing zone though, but you knew that they were playing zone. He was a curl flat guy, and he was hugging. I mean, and then he just zoomed in on the third wide right there.
It's kind of like Jair Alexander, right? Like Kenny Moore is an elite nickelback corner, and you know that he's in that area. You got to make a better decision.
How long has Mason Rudolph played in this league?
A long time.
What conference did he play in last year?
He played in the AFC North.
Right, but he knows the AFC, and they played the freaking Colts, and he knew everything about Kenny Moore.
Yep.
And I expect that play not to happen.
Yeah.
I just do.
And so did Callahan. He said, I just don't expect that to happen.
I feel like that's the whole reason why you're starting. So that I was a little, that was the only one I had an issue. I know he threw another interception. One was a tip ball to Pollard, but that was Pollard's fault. And then at the end of the game, the game was over.
Game's over. Bad throw, in my opinion, but the game's over. So that's why he says the worst decision was that Kenny Moore decision.
And because of when it was, they were building momentum, and they could have scored going into half, and then that just kind of they code scored, so it kind of just zapped all that freaking energy you just had. It's just, it never fails. Whether the defense can't get a stop or the offense makes a bad play at the wrong time or special teams miss a field goal. That was another one. That guy's supposed to make, he's supposed to be a long distance kicker.
Yeah, that one fell short, didn't it?
Oh my gosh. I was like, well, dang, what did you?
They were ripping him on the TV broadcast, apparently. I know I don't think you were able to listen.
No, I was.
But apparently they were ripping him on the TV broadcast. They held no punches, that TV crew, Ross Tucker and...
Oh, it was Ross Tucker?
Yeah, Ross.
Oh, I love him. He's funny.
Yeah, Ross Tucker, Jay Feely, and someone else, I believe. I don't know who the other guy was.
The kicker. Yeah. So they're pretty good crew. They're entertaining for me. I like them.
When we come back, we'll talk more and wrap up about some Tennessee Titans versus the Indianapolis Colts, because maybe I got some positives to give, some positive momentum to give you guys and when heading into this holiday season. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop, Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 26 years. We've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we are now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. Pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in the barn of his backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loan a car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine said you.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. If you want to get in on the conversation, last chance for phone calls. Let's get you some positivity, Blaine.
All right, give me some positivity, man. You got me over
Tennessee
here
Titans'
sweating
red
bullets.
zone offense has been improving. They've been 7-7 on their last 7 trips to the red zone. Okay.
How many trips have they did this
Okay,
year?
we're being positive, Blaine.
They were over there one time this last game.
Listen.
No, 2 times.
7 for 7 in the last red zone attempts trips. So that's good. That's improvement. All right. We've learned something there, according to Brian Callahan. He's learned on what's worked and what's not worked. Okay.
Third down efficiency is better.
It doesn't feel like it. He said it did. And I'm thinking, I disagreed with a lot of like that third and long one where they tried the quarterback sneak up the middle at the very beginning of the game. I'm like,
I'm going to have to start fact checking them. You know,
Okay,
it was 5
check it.
a.m. I might have been, watching that this morning. And I was like, did I hear that right?
Let's see. Third down efficiency, 45.5%. They were 5 for 11 yesterday. So I wouldn't really go that far.
He was saying they were 50%, didn't he?
Yeah. I wouldn't really go that far like he said. But, because that one raised my eyebrows a little bit. I was like, I don't know about that one. All right. Peter Skoronski has only allowed 1 sack since the bye. He's been the 5th best guard in terms of pass blocking efficiency since the bye. So that's over 11 games, by the way. Just saying, Skoronski has started looking really good and has really turned that corner in pass protection. And you know what? J.C. Latham also looked really good yesterday. He came back. Looked really good. Maybe some of that is the fact that Mason Rudolph gets the ball out a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficiently, or he's not maneuvering and drifting around the pocket. But I have to say, I was really pleasantly surprised by the left part of the line. So there's a little bit of positivity. And guess what? No special team blunders.
How many
Third
sacks
week in a
did they
row.
give up?
Zero sacks.
0 sacks. Now, I saw that they took out MPF. It was after a sack, but I thought he blocked plenty enough time to not give up a sack. And I thought Mason Rudolph actually should have moved up in the pocket. They even kind of talked about it on air, I think. And I was like, and then the next series, I wasn't looking for him, but he wasn't out there.
Yeah, they started a Juku Mania.
And I was like, oh, man, I don't know if that was part of the rotation.
Some people say they wouldn't have scored 30 points if John Njoku hadn't gone in, Blaine.
Is that what they're saying?
I mean, the secret sauce was John Njoku.
Really?
Pencil legs.
I mean, you sure that's what? I think he was playing tight end. I don't know, man.
But let me say this. I agree with you because now he put the blame on NPF today in the press conference.
Who did?
Brian Callahan. But I think it was a mutually assured destruction sack. I think NPF didn't set an anchor properly, which he's prone to do. But I also think that Mason Rudolph held onto the ball and could have stepped up in the pocket. So, I think that
to help him out. But it was plenty of time to throw. Did you even chart that on the time on that one?
No. But if that was the sack, I can get you the time on it because it was over 3 seconds, I know for sure. Because guess what? Next Gen Stats actually times the sacks, and that was the only sack of that game.
Yeah, so it should be easy to pull up. Now, what I can say is everything he's saying is correct. But in theory, you should say you should be able to. They have a time clock too, the offensive lineman, and he held his block long enough. Now the guy hesitated, then put a move on him. Mason Rudolph, all he had to do was move up 2 steps. I mean, like a half a step, and he could have got the ball off.
They said from snap to sack, 4.8 seconds.
And what do you think about that time?
That's too much.
That's plenty of time.
That's plenty of time. What I'm saying. That's plenty of time for Mason Rudolph to get the ball out, regardless of what is going on with NPF. Because, listen, I get it. NPF was not very good on that pass blocking play, but he provided you enough time. Yeah. And when you get a play like that from someone like NPF, right? Like, when you're getting at least 4.8 seconds before the sack is finished, that's enough from NPF. Like, that is the bar for NPF.
Here's what I think is going on here. The coach says, but you didn't do what I told you to do.
And maybe the anchor.
Right. Well, they pointed it out, right? But guess what? he should have reinforced it, but it was enough time.
Yeah.
The quarterback got to help you out. But see, that's what happens over time. That part gets missing because it's not said anymore. We're tired of this crap. That's what that says. To me, you got to reinforce also positivity. Like, hey, the quarterback got to help you out a little bit, but you got to stay with this anchor here as long as possible. They can't block fair. That was almost 5 seconds.
6 total pressures given up by the offensive line, according to PFF. One of those is a sack. That is probably one of their better games. And they are, for the last 3 weeks in terms of pass blocking efficiency, this has been the 7th best offensive line, even in despite the bad play from J.C. Latham the previous 2 games. This offensive line is almost there.
Yeah, it's getting closer. If they get that right tackle, take care of it.
You could not find over the last 2 years 3 games like that in a row where they would have ranked that high.
Now, what I can say is, that is also knowing that they were going to be behind and they were going to throw a lot. And they still didn't give up sacks. Like normally that happens. That might have been 6, 7 sacks. Maybe even if Levis was playing, there might have been some sacks because he might have been holding on to the ball trying to throw deep. So, so that was really good to see. I'm not too much on, I don't know about Skoronski. I don't know how much he did really well in this game. And I got to go back and watch him a little bit.
He did really well. I think he only allowed 1 quarterback hurry. But over the last 11 weeks, he's been a top 10 at the very worst offensive guard in the NFL. And you got to remember that includes both left guards and right guards. So top 10 since week 11 is really good. And
how did the Ravens do in this game?
How did the what?
Ravens. I know he got injured in this game, and they ended up putting
he got injured pretty early.
Skoronski had to move the guard, and then Levin at center.
Like, if I was asking for something from Santa, I would be asking for Trey Smith not to be re-signed by the Kansas City Chiefs. Because, like, you think about this. You go, J.C. Latham, left or right. J.C. Latham, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, Trey Smith. And then we'll figure out what rookie right tackle maybe in the second round you want to get. Man, that offensive line sounds really good. I mean, that sounds really, really good.
Great, man.
Throw in Jedrick Wills if you want to as a stopgap. You know, they're
going to try to make up what they should have drafted him in the 5th round?
Yeah. Hey, listen, I don't care if it's a little bit late as long as he's coming home. That's all that matters. But, man, that sounds like a really good offensive line for whatever quarterback is back there. So. And you need one. Let's go to Scott, who wants to talk about the NPF benching. Scott's out in Nashville. Scott, you're on Blaine and Zach.
Hey, so if you go back and look at that sack after the quarterback went down, MPF just looked at him, put his foot in the ground, turned his back, and walked away. Didn't even try to go help him up. And I think that had more to do with him getting benched. Like, he clearly could have went and picked him up off the ground, give him a hand, see everybody else do it. He made a decision not to.
I'm gonna have to take your word for it because I don't know if that happened, but that is an interesting wrinkle to this whole conversation that he didn't even attempt to go back. If that's the case, I'll have to go back and watch it myself. But like that would be pretty telling, right? Like maybe that is a little bit of the reason why he benched to the point.
No, maybe because he had already thought that he was going to get benched.
Oh, maybe.
That's what I think.
He's like, okay, well, that's it. I'm heading to the bench.
Nah, my bad. I forgot. I mean, I was just like, oh, man, I'm scared.
It's kind of like when Will Levis went back to the bench last week after he threw he knew. He's like, he knew.
He knew.
I'll throw my helmet up on the little holders or whatever, and it's over for me.
He knew.
Yeah. I don't know.
And we know it's time to go.
It is. It is time to go. That will do it for us here. We'll be back tomorrow bring you in on Christmas Eve tomorrow. Blaine and Zach here. 3HL's up next. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.